we gained from this. And why do we gain from this? We gain from this because only a very small percentage of Western diplomats are intelligence officers. The Russians operate at a much different level. The Russians probably have literally 10 times more intelligence officers under diplomatic cover than we or France or England or any other country involved in this mass ejection of Russians has. So the result is that when the Russians retaliate by closing Romanian embassies or cutting down, curtailing personnel at different missions in Russia, they're actually only hurting themselves. Because remember, a great deal of the Americans who work at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow are actually there for programs that benefit the Russian people, not so much the United States. The spies already have been sent home, and so now they're going to be cutting into the people that actually approve Russian visas to visit New York or Disney World and things like that. So in the end, we are getting much more out of this. We have a much reduced capability of Russian intelligence within the West, in the United States in particular, and that's always a good thing.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I was speaking to somebody earlier who works in the State Department, and they said something very similar. They said that in our diplomatic corps, our foreign service, that an ambassador really is an ambassador. They're a diplomat. They are loyal to the State Department. That's who they get their marching orders from. But the Russians are much different. Typically, their ambassadors are deferent to the FSB, to state services, to their intelligence services. And those embassies are often run as functions of the intelligence community, not the diplomatic community.
That's very much true. I mean, there are cases, for instance, the Russians used to embed people in TASS, the Soviet news agency, and there would be cases where you'd have a TASS office of 10 people and only 2 of them were actually journalists. 8 of them, in other words, 80% of the TASS staff were actually FSB or KGB officers operating undercover. Or Aeroflot, the Russian airline. I mean, they'll embed officers there. So the Russians come up with many ways of addressing this. So diplomatic presence is one area, but there are other areas. But this will put the Russian intelligence collection under a great deal of pressure when you start ejecting all of these Russians.
Newsmax TV. Watch us on Dish, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, Verizon Fios, or download our free app. Don't have Newsmax TV? Call your local cable provider and request Newsmax today.